Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of Marv on Air. Today is Thursday, October 17th, 2024, and my face is red, yes, because I've done this intro 7 times, but because we have one of the best episodes coming down the pipe. I know you're excited. We are excited, not only because the NFL is at an all-time high. College football is looking electric. Baseball and hockey step onto the platforms with some of their best content ever. We are super fired up, not only because of the sports, though, because we have a man on today who has so much exciting things to say. The Arizona Cardinals. Are they good? Are they bad? I don't know. They have 2 good wins, but in the preseason, where were their expectations? I don't know. We do know a man who does know, however. Host of the PHNX Cardinals podcast and an Arizona Cardinals beat reporter, Bo Brack, joins us to answer our questions. Redden and I think we did a pretty good job. You're going to want to see that. Stick around, however, for the second half of the episode where Redden, myself, Chase, and Hunter all break down everything going on in the sports world. You're not going to want to miss it. We got a lot of good segments and brand new trivia coming just this week. And if it goes well, maybe we'll do it in the future. I don't know. It's going to be a bit of a trial by fire situation. We will see you in the second half. Here is Bo Brack. Look at this guy.
Hammer! Whoa, close! Oh my God, I should pop off on your ass about the coat.
We feed family.
Come on,
You're
telling me.
right, Tony.
1 set.
Iowa State is going to win this game.
Now I'm a bromsexual and go broad.
Joining us now is the man, the myth, the legend who has been on the show. I think this is the only guy who's made it on the show twice by now. So we're very, very thankful he's able to make it. Host of the PHNX Cardinals podcast for PHNX Sports, and I think just a direct beat reporter for the Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals, senior Bo Brack. How we doing, Bo Brack?
What an honor, man. You went bilingual on me. This is the second appearance. It's unbelievable to be back with you guys, hanging out, talking some ball.
Yeah, well, you were one of our favorite guests. You were super chill with the hat backwards last time. This time coming in with the significantly cooler background. How is it all going down there in Phoenix?
Outside of the play of the team that I cover, things are going well. It's still really hot here. Finally starting to knock off a couple degrees, but I have upgraded. I've gotten a little bit older, so I switched to the dad cap. I decided no more childish things, so started to turn things around, and now I'm a full-blown adult with a child, and I'm raising him the best I can.
Well, congrats. That's awesome. We love to hear that. Moving it on to the next generation. I'm sure he'll be holding the mic here in a few months. I can't wait to see what comes out of him. But you obviously touched on the Cardinals. We'll jump right on into it. I think that the Cardinals have played pretty decent for what we kind of expected them to be this year. And my first question for you is, compared to where you thought they'd be in the preseason, obviously picking Marvin Harrison Jr. right away, are they overperforming or underperforming?
It's a tough evaluation just because there's been a couple uneven performances, right? Realistically, try to keep things in perspective. This is a team that's in year 2 of a full-on rebuild. They tore this thing down to the studs outside of Kyler Murray and have slowly tried to build things back up with a brand new roster and doing it through the draft. 9 picks in 2023, including Paris Johnson Jr., and then you had 12 picks this previous draft, including Marvin Harrison Jr. and Darius Robinson, who we haven't seen yet, out of the SEC as a defensive line player. But it's kind of been a mixed bag. Like, you've seen some decent performances. You blew out a team that has owned you since Sean McVay took over the reins in Los Angeles. You blew the doors off of them in week 2 to kind of even your record at 1-1. And then you look at the last couple games, like you get a surprising win over the 49ers. But that's sandwiched in between getting crushed by your predecessor in Cliff Kingsbury, who you paid to go away, and he came in and had Jaden Daniels look like an MVP against you in an uncompetitive game. And then this previous week in Lambeau, you had Jordan Love and crew just kind of march up and down the field, and the offense just came out flat out of the gates, and it was just an ugly performance. So it's tough to judge, but keeping things in perspective, this is a draft and develop team in year 2 of rebuild. So 2-4 with a gauntlet of a schedule. I guess that's kind of where people expected, and you probably would have signed up for that right before the season started. But at the same time, seeing how it plays out, it still kind of leaves a bitter taste in your mouth.
Well, yeah, we were looking at kind of I was scrolling through your tweets, and you talked about how the offensive performance had gone, and there was a lot of comments today about that from the OC and everything. But I think it was punt, 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 punt,
Yeah.
field goal, or touchdown, field goal, fumble, fumble, fumble. I don't know if that's a great spot to be in, but
You're not going to beat anybody like that. And they had 13 penalties and then also 3 that offset. So 16 times the Arizona Cardinals had yellow flags thrown on the field, and they were, on the poor end of that. It's unfortunate. It's one of those things that you just have to flush. But now you've got 2 of those performances in the 6 weeks. But then, you look at the opener against the Bills, and you hang with you're in a position to go down in the final drive and win that game. Unfortunately, you don't get it done. So you drop to 0-1 in a competitive loss, and then you shut out the Lions in the second half in a game that you lost by 1 possession. So, you got the good, and then you got the bad, and then you got the ugly so far through 6 games. And, the big discussion you mentioned, the offensive coordinator, there isn't any rhythm to this team offensively. You got Kyler Murray back. The statistics look very similar to what they look like with Joshua Dobbs. That's a bit alarming. And, of course, you've also got the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr. I know he's in concussion protocol, but before that, wasn't exactly lighting the world on fire with the guy that came out of Ohio State as probably one of the more polished prospects in recent history.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say really quickly before we kind of jump back into the Cardinals, you mentioned the flags, and obviously Monday Night Football had just a plethora of them. Do you have a kind of a thought on that? The no fun league seems to be in full swing here in week 7. So, just really quickly, what do you think of that?
You guys seen Liar Liar, where he's the lawyer and he's got people that call him because they keep on getting arrested, quick breaking the law, a-hole. I think that's what it's to deal with, trying not to. But there's some ticky tack stuff, there absolutely was. But when you're got that kind of those infractions coming at you so many times, you're doing something wrong. So, and I think the team understands that. They were the least penalized team going into week 6. So if they can get back on track, they're going to put themselves in a better position to not shoot themselves in the foot like they did all game on Sunday. So, Monday Night Football, you're going to go against a disciplined team with Jim Harbaugh's coach Chargers coming to town, and that's got to happen.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. I do like the Cardinals. You have a question there, Red?
Yeah, you kind of touched on it earlier, but you guys have had a challenging schedule here if you just look at your first few weeks. Would you say, when Gannon was hired, this is a spot that you wanted to be in at this point in time, or is he ahead of schedule, behind schedule? Kind of what's the general sentiment down in Arizona about how he's doing?
Yeah, it's a good question. And when you look at Gannon, when he first hit the scene, a lot of people like to poke fun at him because he approached his job with enthusiasm and looked a little gooberish because people didn't know who he was. And then they saw
the Rockets thing was crazy. The pew pew.
The pew pew. I get it from as being an outsider, but then you kind of see that's how he approaches everything. He's got that type of enthusiasm. And it's genuine. It's not like Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, and just makes you cringe. It obviously worked as far as rebuilding the culture here, but as far as the rebuild itself, the big question was okay, where are they going to be? Are they going to be a team that can be ahead of schedule in this type of thing, or are they going to be a team that's going to be right where they need to be, where it's going to be a little bit of a process here, where it's just going to be linear, or it's going to be you win 4 games, 6 games, 8 games, double-digit games, or is it going to be you're going to be behind schedule? I think they are probably right where they are expected to be. So it's just what you learned so far is your general manager, your head coach, your decision makers. I think you got confidence in them, but are they going to be the guys that can just turn it on a dime like the DeMeco Ryans Texans last year? It's that's probably not happening.
Yeah, you don't see that very often. And, turning it around on a dime, Patriots, perfect example, right? Pick 3 overall, Drake May. Yeah. We're currently projected to be 1 overall. I think for the rest of the year, I would prefer we kind of just lose out, but Drake May progresses. That's kind of where, and then we pick on the line or wherever it needs to be to help Drake succeed. What do you like? What would you like from the rest of the season for the Cardinals? Do you want to see them win out? Obviously, you'll get Zay Jones back, and sneak in at the back door of the playoffs there and make a run. Or would you rather hang around 8 and 9? Nobody wants to be there.
No, nobody wants to be there. That's NFL purgatory, right? I think it would do a lot of good for the decision makers. It would make them look great. It would take them from where they are right now, where they kind of had the long leash that you're experiencing in Foxborough with May and a new head coach and new front office, where they've got this long leash, right? And they can do no wrong. It's just hey, we just want to see progress, development, and maybe some players that we can build with. Where the Cardinals had that year last year. So if things go south and they don't, they go maybe 6-11, it's putting on a lot of pressure on the new decision makers, head coach, like to win next season. And we know that in this league, it's tough. Like the schedule makers could come out. You could have another, start to your season where it's just littered with 2024 playoff teams, and you're out of excuses at that point. So I think it is important for them to win as many games as possible, because like losing out just puts you to the seat gets a lot hotter. And then if you win and you get to somewhere close to 500 and you're just on the outside looking in, people are like, okay, I saw it with my own eyes. We saw full-on progress from this organization. They probably won some games along the way that they shouldn't have, and took advantage of some teams that, at this point are a little bit better than. So, yeah, I think you gotta win as many games as possible.
What does that look like for Arizona? You kind of touched on it. In the NFL,
Yeah.
When you're rebuilding, it helps. Initially you're probably going to be bottom 3 in the league, get one of those top draft picks, and then probably get a quarterback or someone you can build on. In college, it's a little bit different. You want to see, okay, year 2, are we around 500 now? With the NFL, do you want to see Kyler Murray being the quarterback going forward? Is he the guy, or do they need to, in this rebuild, try to find somebody else?
No, this is the first year of his gigantic, extension that he signed that was so polarizing a couple of years ago. And like the new organization has done a good job in embracing Kyler Murray. And we're learning a lot about him. Like they're trying to provide him from a play calling standpoint to playmaking standpoint, offensive line, like provide the infrastructure that's necessary for him to be successful. And like, I don't think it's pulling a ton of weight. Like he was able to play hero ball under Cliff Kingsbury and came out of 2021 out of the gates as an MVP candidate and has the ability to make some pretty special plays. But to do it consistently enough, I think that's asking for him a lot. Like there's only, like when we talk about elite, I guess, decision makers taking a rebuild and putting it ahead of schedule, like the player equivalent to that is like a Mahomes or Josh Allen. And it's like, it's not an indictment on Kyler Murray saying he's not one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league, but can he be a top 10 guy? I think he absolutely can be. I think he's got the skill set. He's been fine to start the season. You want to see him maybe win some games just on his own this season, like to kind of like maybe quiet some of the narrative around him that I think is unfair. Like a lot of the stuff that he gets crapped on for, it's not even things that he's really truly responsible for. But I think what he can do just to help himself out is kind of elevate this team in a couple games where they need it, because so far, like he's been fine, but he hasn't been amazing, and it hasn't done them any good to maybe get them past the finish line against some teams that they were in the game with to the very end.
Well, consistency really is key, because if Anthony Richardson could play at his best every single play, I mean, you couldn't stop him. He's launching 65-yard nukes off the back foot fadeaway, like into a bucket. So it is really all about consistency.
Yeah, you brought up something there I want to touch on quick, and then we can get back to the Cardinals. But you brought up how Cliff Kingsbury asked Kyler Murray to kind of just play hero ball out there. Mm-hmm. Kingsbury runs a pretty college scheme. Jaden Daniels is a similar style quarterback to Kyler Murray. Obviously a little bit different, but very similar. Kingsbury's having a lot of success, I'd say, right now in Washington with Jaden Daniels. They're really progressing, it seems. What's the difference there? Or is it now that Kingsbury is just OC, doesn't have quite as big of a role and worries on a day-to-day basis? What do you think the difference is between Jaden Daniels and Kyler Murray, and how does Cliff Kingsbury play into that?
Yeah, I mean, Cliff, did he learn from his mistakes here as head coach? Probably. I mean, I think he went up to a very easy situation where he's the QB coach for Caleb Williams. He attached himself to another quarterback. Like he's been attached to some great quarterbacks. Like you can't deny that. And he's been he's played a role in their success, from like Mahomes to Kyler to now Jaden Daniels, even Caleb last year. But like the data's out there. Like Cliff Kingsbury from 2013 until now is historically just falling apart at the end of the season. Like this is Cliff Kingsbury's season. Like this is when he thrives. When it's September and October, Cliff Kingsbury is he's elite. But then like when the calendar changes to November and December, and that's going to be a true kind of telltale sign to see if he's kind of learned from his past mistakes. Like, is he going to be able to, really kind of consistently get that offense to where it's been to start this season, and Jaden Daniels continue to play at that clip? that's going to be huge for Kingsbury and his ability to kind of continue to make a living in this league. But, tip of the cap to him. He came in here, kicked the crap out of the Cardinals, and he was unbelievable as his play calling. Jaden Daniels, I think, benefits from being 6'4", something Kyler Murray's never going to be. I think he can look over the defenses a little bit better. But other than that, pretty similar. Like I don't disagree with that, and I think he's benefiting from not too, I guess, challenging concepts from Cliff Kingsbury, and it's real simple for him to kind of get the ball in playmakers' hands. So both of them operating at a pretty high level. I do agree. I think Kingsbury's probably in a way better situation to just be the play caller instead of the guy. He's not a true leader of men. But he is set up to be a good OC, I think, going forward.
Well, it's definitely something we should keep in mind, right? November, December. Maybe we start betting against the Commanders. Maybe
see what the betting trends are.
Maybe we look into that a little bit. Well, you mentioned playing really well early and then late kind of falling off. It's a bit of a meme recently in the last couple of years that Kyler Murray, once COD drops, it's just tankathon, and then he signs that deal. He thanks everyone. Hey, thanks for getting me the bag. What is the vibe around Phoenix in that exact situation? Because around all the other leagues, or all the other fan bases, it's look at this guy.
Kind of a joke.
He played right into it.
Yeah.
What is it like down there in Phoenix?
I mean, it was funny. What a difference a week makes, right? Because they just come off a big dramatic comeback over the 49ers, and I think people rightfully ask, like, do you think he makes this announcement if they lose that game? And I think that's a fair question. Like, does he announce that he's going to be teaming up with Call of Duty if the team has one win, through the first 5 weeks of the season? Probably not. So it was at that point, it was like, oh yeah, go Kyler. Like, this is cool. He's got he's self-deprecating a little bit to an extent, and also kind of was able to play off the haters and get himself, as he says, the bag here. But at the same time, it's like the dueling interviews in Step Brothers and the tuxedos, they look a little less fun now, and it's a little bit weird if this team continues to struggle and Kyler Murray isn't who, like, we believe he can be. Like, it's just going to be one of those week to week things. And if you look back at the season, and his production drops off significantly between, what is it, like, we're 10 days away from the new Call of Duty officially dropping, and those stats, get added to. Hopefully you can just stop it at the 2024 season, that he doesn't have production fall off a cliff. That's going to be the big thing for him if he wants to, like, kind of stop that talk, is kind of back it up with his play the rest of the season.
Oh yeah, he'll definitely have to step up.
Yeah, the Cardinals they've kind of struggled in years past down the tail end of the season. You've kind of mentioned that. What do they have to do this year? Obviously, you mentioned Kingsbury, not a great coach when it gets cold outside. He seems to kind of prefer the beach and the sun and his sunglasses. What do they have to do this year? Or maybe it's not even this year. Maybe they got to pick something up in the draft, get a little more depth. What do the Cardinals need to be able to play a full season and then make a run in the playoffs?
I mean, they have to win some games between now and when the schedule gets a little softer down the stretch.
Winning games is good
to put themselves in a position, right? Like, they've got kind of a Jekyll and Hyde. Like, they've got the Chargers this Monday, who, they're a way better team than they were before. Not to say that they're not beatable, but I think, the Chargers are favored this game, and rightfully so. And then you go on the road, and you're probably going to face Tua coming back for the first time in Miami. That's a way different team.
What's your opinion on that, on the whole Tua situation, before you get too far?
I mean, if he's fine, come back. I mean, they need it. They're in desperate need of him. If he's fine, it's his choice.
If he comes back and plays mediocre and they win games, does he win MVP? Because it's like clear cut. He goes out for 6 games and they don't win a single one. Comes back, they win them all. I mean, that's most valuable to me right there.
Yeah, I mean, that would prove. It's right there for you. So yeah, that's a great point. I mean, it's just unfortunate, right? Like, if you wish you could get the Dolphins one more week with Skylar Thompson or Tyler Huntley or who the hell's in quarterback now. Yeah. And then, the Jets, they're going to have Devontae probably in full swing on the schedule. You got the Bears, who are playing crappy offensive football. And then the last 2 weeks, they're scoring 5 touchdowns a clip. So it's a little like what you thought was kind of a medium grind. It now becomes tougher. And then after the bye week, you should be able to take advantage of Seattle and the Panthers and the Patriots. No disrespect, but like, that's a winnable game. Like, now you can start at the end of the season, like win some football games. It's I just think that's really what that's how the schedule shakes out. And they're going to have to kind of prove that they're the team that can take advantage of it when the opportunity presents itself.
Well, I have one last question on the NFL here for you. I'm curious what I saw you retweeting you're keeping up today. Today was just a crazy day in the NFL for some reason. I don't know why today just happened to be the day that all the chips fell. Mari Cooper and Devontae Adams making their moves. What do you make of that, just as a whole look across the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, Mari Cooper's got to be the happiest guy in the league getting out.
Was that scene coming at all? That felt like it was out of nowhere.
No, I mean, and credit to the Bills, man. I mean, that is a savvy move.
Yeah.
I think they probably realized that they didn't do enough at the position in the offseason, and they've been able to kind of make do with those unproven wide receivers, and they didn't prove enough. So they're like, okay, let's go out and get the guy who's available. And I think that's like one thing the Cardinals did themselves a disservice for is like, if you come out of the gates and you're able to kind of put yourself in a contender status, and then these other teams start to fall off, and then you can start to buy up and improve your roster at this time. And I thought it was masterful, more so from Buffalo. Like, as far as the Adams trade, like I think like the Jets are like that family, that has no business owning a dog, and they're like, hey, we just picked up our fourth dog. Like, we just adopted another one. Like, this is a disaster. This is bad for everybody involved. And it's like, what are they going to go? They're not a playoff team. They're 2-4, just like the Cardinals. I just don't think that's going to be the big, change that they needed.
You mentioned the Cardinals last year, eerily similar to this year, right? That's the same thing with the Jets. I think they have the same amount of points scored and one more loss. Like, what are they actually doing? Zach
Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, same, Josh Dobbs, and Kyler Murray, and it's the same product, and that's an issue, right? So. It's kind of the definition of insanity, and you can start, reshuffling the furniture on the Titanic, but it's still like it's not going to be a good result.
Ship's going down. Yeah, everything going around the NFL is crazy right now, like, especially after this week with Jerry Jones just popping off on that poor reporter, poor radio host. I felt a little bad. But
he comes on, like he does that show because he can't, help himself. He wants to, be in the spotlight. And then he's, the reporters just ask him what anybody would ask him, and he pops off on him.
He's expecting, how do you dress up your hot dog after a long weekend? Gets served the softball. Hey, what happened this weekend? He's pissed off. But we could talk NFL all day. Obviously, that's kind of like our thing here. But I kind of want to jump into college just for a second here. ASU is covered under that PHNX, whatever the whole thing there. Big 12 this year.
Welcome to the Big 12, by the way.
Welcome to the Big 12. Congrats. You're in Iowa State's house now. Iowa State seems to be running rampant. But ASU, I saw you guys kind of got snubbed. Didn't make top 25 at 5-1 after a ranked win over Utah. I don't know how closely you follow them, so don't worry too much if you can't answer too tightly here. But what do you think of that team?
They're frisky, man. Like they benefited from playing a couple bad teams. Like Cam Rising it was one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a D1 quarterback on Friday. But for the credit to them for winning that football game, they've been in some tight ones. They snuck by Kansas, and they're fun. They're just a fun team. Like I just hope that they don't turn back into a pumpkin here by the end of the season. Like I think that they've got an opportunity. Up next against Cincinnati when on the road. It's such a strange time to kick off, like 9:00 here in the Valley. It's a game that's being played in Cincinnati, and that's a Big 12 matchup. So that would be another win over a team that they should beat, but nothing's a given. Like they went into Texas Tech, and Texas Tech won handily. So, but they're just one of those teams. Like you'll take any dub you can get, and like Kenny Dillingham, their head coach in a season's time has galvanized this entire fan base who's just starved for anything that resembled a relevant college football team. And, he's saying the right things. Like when he's asked about, hey, you only received like 3 top 25 votes and you're not in the top 25. He's like, I don't give a crap. Really. I don't and that's the right thing to say. So if they just continue to take care of business against these teams that they should beat, like then they will inevitably make their way back into the top 25 and get the respect that they deserve.
Well, I'm nervous. Iowa State cracked top 10, and I don't know if we've ever been. This is the most since 1938 most wins to start the season. I mean, I am more nervous than I am excited to see. I mean, obviously, I'm excited because we might make the playoff, but like, also, guys, this season's not over. We got a lot of games left. I'll ask you because we talked about it a little bit last week, and that's kind of the beauty of our program is it's like anything sports we'll talk about. I mean, come February, March, April, we'll be talking golf and hockey just as much as anybody out there. But this season, we've been talking specifically more about the college game versus the NFL game. And a lot of people have been talking about how the NFL is kind of boring. Quarterback play is down, and we're seeing upsets like crazy in the college game. So is your opinion aligned with that? Do you think the NFL is kind of down from what it's been in the past? We're not getting as many 500-yard passing games, or do you think it's just that the college game is, with the 12-team playoff, all the hype is there?
Yeah, I mean,
that's a tough one.
I think I'll always be an NFL guy over college. Like, full transparency, like, I grew up on the Atlantic coast, like in the DC area, and we just didn't have a team that we were consistently seeing play. Like, Virginia Tech was maybe like 3 hours away, and they had like a run with Michael Vick, and then they were like decent, from here on until like 2012. So like it wasn't as prevalent as the NFL game, and I still think like the college game is so fun. It absolutely is fun, but if you're looking for like good tackling and good defensive performances, like you're not going to see that. And I say that like I do agree with you. Like I think the NFL product is way watered down and needs something to get it back on track. But I think I'm still an NFL guy over college. But I agree, like it's a good departure. Like turning on the TV on Saturday and watching these upsets and seeing some teams, some mid-majors like just compete with some of these Power 5 schools and pulling off these crazy wins. Like I'm all for that. So and I can't wait to see what the 12-team playoff looks like.
Yeah, that'll be really exciting. And then even just teams like we were talking about, like you don't get a Ashton Genty really in the NFL.
Right.
Like I mean, he'll be good. Don't get me wrong, but like at a Boise State like that, there are no Boise States really in the NFL. If they're all NFL teams.
Even Travis Hunter, like he's going to have to probably play corner in the NFL. Like I can't imagine he's going to be playing 120 NFL snaps.
Jabril Peppers,
another great example.
Anyways,
but somebody was talking about like I think he absolutely is a corner going in, and we have in our over on Umbrella like DNVR Buffaloes, they cover that team, and they're like, well, he's going to go wide receiver just because there's more money there. It's like, nah, he's going to go wherever the NFL team that drafts him wants him to play. And what's more of a premium position is going to be cornerback. And
well, I mean, with Deion's like, hey, if he's like selecting teams where he's going, so I don't know, maybe not.
If I'm an NFL team and Deion is like his like gatekeeper, I'm just going to move forward to the next prospect then.
Almost like a Bronny James situation.
Yeah. I think, well, we'll pass like then.
Yeah, I can see that.
I was going to say, kind of back to the whole college product versus NFL product. We talked about how like quarterback play feels to be down. Why do you have an idea as to why that might be? Is it that people like, 10 years ago, we had Brady, Manning, Breeze, Rodgers. We had all these, just an insane level of quarterback play. Like Phillip Rivers was considered middle of the pack. And like now it feels like he'd probably be like a top 4 quarterback in the NFL if he was in his prime. Is it that the quarterback play is just not quite up to the standard it was a decade ago? Or is it that defenses are getting better? Probably somewhere in the middle there, I guess.
No cover 2 allowed. Not allowed. That's the problem. We can't have cover 2.
That came out when Mel Kiper, I think he said that maybe in the offseason and then kind of got some run recently. Somebody brought that up to the Cardinals head coach, Jonathan Gannon, and then so they worded their question incorrectly. And I saw they said, hey, what do you think about the NFL potentially banning cover 2? And you could see the guy's like heart just drop. He was like, what? And somebody had to explain, like, hey, no, this is just a stupid quote from Mel Kiper on a podcast. This isn't like realistically going to happen. But I mean, you could tell like this, he was like, no, we need that. And I think you have like an overcorrection. You talk about that elite quarterback play from a couple of years ago and the league caught up and adjusted. And I think that you're going to see teams readjust. But right now, I think it's a mix between defenses being so good and not wanting to allow the big play. But then also you've got a mix of guys like Aaron Rodgers, and I think Kyler Murray's in this category, and most of the quarterbacks, like there's such an emphasis on ball security that they're not willing to put the ball in harm's way, and that they want to avoid turning the ball over and throwing picks. that, they're not willing to kind of take that risk and push the ball downfield, where a couple of years ago they were just kind of letting it rip. But they also had defenses that might it would probably work out a little bit more in their favor.
Yeah, we talk about it with like just from a visual watching the game enjoyment standpoint, guys like Baker Mayfield and Jameis Winston, who they seem to have like zero regard for ball security. Like they're just slinging it. Those guys are more fun to watch than guys like Rodgers. Rodgers still slings it a little bit, but it doesn't feel like quite what it used to be. And now he is getting older. But
well, and there's something too where like Rodgers has the ability to just bring in Devontae and get Mike Williams cut. Like there's that element to it too.
Did he end up getting cut? I haven't seen
Not
that.
yet, I don't think.
He's got to.
His time's ticking. Sorry, I didn't want to let you go if you were gonna go. Yeah, no, I was gonna just jump into Chicken and Pickle. Have you heard of this place?
Yeah, man. That's one of our. Are you wondering about one of our sponsors, Chicken and Pickle? Yeah, it's.
I didn't know you guys were sponsors. I just saw this trivia night, and I want to be in Arizona. This in the name of the place, Chicken and Pickle. What a name!
Yeah, it's elite. I mean, and they've got drinks as well, cocktails and beers, everything on tap. It's like a sports bar, but then you just walk out and it's just pickleball courts galore. It's unreal. Yeah, I mean, it is basically geared up for fellas like ourselves.
So you're gonna fly me down there for trivia night, then? That's what I'm hearing.
Get out here, man. Get out here. Let's see. Can you dink? Can you dunk a little bit?
Oh, are you kidding me? Redden and I on the courts? Oh,
Just
don't even.
Just owning the kitchen, right? That's where you guys live.
Yeah, we
naturally
we toe that line very close for sure. We've got one last question for you here, Redden. Why don't you go ahead and serve him the softball?
Yeah, we just want to know. I mean, maybe you're a little biased, maybe not. Who do you got in the Super Bowl? If you had to say right now, after what we've seen so far, where are you going with this Super Bowl? Maybe some teams have fell down your list. Maybe some teams have rose up. Where are you going?
A lot of season
Super
left.
Bowl prediction.
Yeah, and look, the NFC is a lot tougher, I think, than the AFC. The AFC, I think that they've got some pretty top teams between the Bills and the Ravens. I probably should have named the Ravens first because of what they did to the Bills. And I think you could maybe throw the Texans in that conversation. Looking at the NFC, man, it's like, who is the best team in the NFC? Like, the Niners are playing like crap, and they had the best roster. And then you look at the other divisions, like, I know we talked about the Commanders, but you think that they can make a run in January and into February. The Vikings with Sam Darnold, probably
the whole North,
like,
really.
Yeah, like, I like the Lions a lot. I think that they haven't played their best ball. Probably, I'll say the Lions and the Ravens probably is my Super Bowl pick. And,
No Chiefs.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know how I don't throw the Chiefs in there, but yeah, they're perennial Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah,
Are
they're
they
no
going to
fun
get a
to say.
receiver? Are they going to try to find somebody through all this madness? I think they should.
I hope they don't. I'm
Yeah,
tired of the Chiefs. I'm tired of them. But
I mean, you can't pick against them. It's kind of like Tom. Like, you couldn't really bet against Tom, but I do not want to pick them to be my. Like, I just don't want to. I hate it.
Ravens
Like,
Lions
could the Chiefs
would.
go out and get like Jerry Jeudy? Could they just pick that carcass that is the Browns for a wide receiver?
Well, and we were kind of talking about like maybe Max Crosby's on his way out. Do the Raiders completely just kind of throw it all to the wind? Obviously the Lions with Hutchinson out are going to need a guy. Maybe they make a move. Like, when is the trade deadline? I haven't seen it. It must be.
It's the beginning of November.
I was going to say it must be coming right up if these moves are coming. So I wouldn't be too surprised if the Chiefs make a move. But also looking at the last few years, they've just made scraps kind of work. They are very creative with their play calling.
MVS got released because Amari Cooper is like, do they just go pick him up for like a 16th time?
Yeah,
I'm sure they will.
The Chiefs will pull some crap. And
I'm sure his key card still works.
It's Marquez. It's that time of year, man. Did your team that realized you're only good on the Chiefs realize that and just cut you again?
Get him for a conditional seventh. Yeah, I can see that. Well, thank you so much for your time, Bo. We appreciate mostly the background, to be honest. That background is absolutely legendary. We're working towards that. You got anything coming up this weekend? Are you covering anything special?
No, I mean, we've got Monday Night Football against the Chargers. That's our Week 7 content for the week. We're just leading everybody up to it. Lots to kind of follow along with this Cardinals team. Marvin Harrison Jr. and concussion protocol. Can the offense get right? Can Gannon match wits with Jim Harbaugh, who's already back to being a top coach in this league? So not short on storylines, and excited to be able to talk about, just talk ball every day.
Yeah, well, if you guys enjoyed Bo Brack today, be sure to check him out on Twitter at Bo Brack. I'm not exactly sure what the handle is, but you can't miss it. It's a pretty easy name to find. This guy puts out awesome content every day. I mean, he's just popping onto my feed live. It seems like you're literally live all the time. Like you're always in front of a microphone. So
all the time. It's
kudos.
I love it. My wife hates it, and look, we make it work.
Well, thank you for finding the time for us.
Yeah, look at this. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bo Brack. All right, Bo Brack, awesome interview. That was a lot of fun. I always get excited when Bo comes on. It's his second time because, I mean, Bo, he's got a lot of fun things to say, but he's also, last time, had the hat backwards. This time, super cool background. Red, what'd you think of Bo?
Great interview. Great guy. It was awesome having him on, talking a little bit of ball, touched on NFL, touched on college football a little bit. Overall, great guy. Thank you to him for coming on.
Yes, big shout out to Bo Brack, but let's dive into what's going on across the sports landscape. Obviously, joining me today from the quad boxes, Hunter and Chase. Boys, how are we doing? Hunter, looks like we've got a brand new setup there, and Chase, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that is not an Iowa t-shirt.
It is not this week.
Thank God. Hunter, the new setup looks good, though.
I appreciate that, Marv. I got a new mic here. Hopefully it doesn't sound too bad. Hopefully I don't look too bad on my new camera.
Yeah, the hair looked very voluptuous. I'm excited to see what you bring to the table this week as we dive directly into Talkin 25. We've got a lot of college football to cover. There is a lot of big games going on this week, and then obviously last week there are a couple of major headlines. Starting it off, we got Ohio State and Oregon. Okay, what an instant classic. That one ended up a 1-point differential. Couldn't have drawn it up any better, really. It was a little bit of a resemblance of the Cowboys 49ers playoff game with Dak running. Did he run that up the middle? I think he did. It was a QB draw, slid. They didn't get that ball spiked. Same exact thing happened to Ohio State. Redden, what do you make of that? Is this concerning for Ohio State moving forward? Is Ryan Day's job in danger? And does Oregon come away with this as a win or a loss?
Yeah, obviously a great game. Came down to the end there. A lot of interesting things happened there in the last 2-3 minutes, whether you're talking about the 12 men on the field thing or Will Howard sliding when the game was already over. I'm not too worried about either of these teams. I think it's similar to what we saw in the Georgia-Alabama game, where we saw two very good teams who are both going to be playoff teams play, and Oregon happened to win it. If Ohio State wins that game, we're talking about this game completely different, even though, on the field, the performance itself wouldn't look that different. So I'm not worried about Ohio State. In regards to Ryan Day, I can't stand the guy. I just don't like him. I think he's like a very good coach, but you can point to his record against top 5 teams and say, maybe there's something going on there. But I think we're going to figure it out this year. 12-team playoff. He's going to have a chance to beat a top 10 team. Let's see what he can do.
I agree. And Chase, coming out of the Big Ten there, obviously big Iowa fan. Are you concerned about Oregon or maybe even still Ohio State moving forward?
Oregon looked really good. I think they can contend for a national championship this year, obviously. Ranked 2 now, I believe. I'm not concerned about Ohio State either. Both these teams are very solid. Yeah, it could have gone any other way, or any way, I should say. If Will Howard gets down earlier, maybe they have a chance to kick a field goal to win it, but that's not what happened. So not concerned about either team. Both teams will probably play in the college football playoff. So
I agree. I think they'll be in the playoff no matter what. Will they see each other in semifinals? Where do they line up? We won't know. Obviously, that's kind of the beauty of the 12-team playoff. I like that it's so open. Hunter, what do you make of the top 3 being like completely new teams? There's no Alabama, there's no Georgia. I believe Penn State snuck into the top 3. Just an interesting situation. What do you make of that?
Right. I think it's different. I think it's gonna be weird to see, the Big Ten having these contenders go up against SEC schools ranked lower in the seeding. So SEC schools are gonna go to Big Ten schools for the playoff games, which is gonna be very interesting. I think it'll be a different ball game, of course, for these Big Ten teams. I think Oregon might get smacked by like LSU or Alabama, however the seeding works out. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about getting smacked, Chase called it. Texas absolutely smacked Oklahoma in the Red River shootout. Chase, will you just recap this game since you did call it correctly? We don't have to spend too much time here because it was a bit of a dominant win. But is this just Texas flexing its muscles, or is Oklahoma kind of dog?
no, I think it's exactly that. I think Texas is the best team in the nation, and as of right now anyway. Oklahoma might not be as good as we originally thought, but I mean, 34 to 3 is just a shit kicking to keep it as simple
Keep it
as
real.
possible. Yeah. At Oklahoma, an embarrassing loss. I don't know if they expected to win the game or not. They were probably hoping to, but that Texas team is phenomenal.
They definitely look really, really good. And Quinn Ewers, I mean, a little shaky to start. Are you nervous about Quinn, Red?
No, not really. You know, a lot of people just across the country are pretty high on Texas right now. I do think they're the best team in the country, but I don't think they're a step ahead of the Ohio States, Oregons, Alabamas, Georgia. You know, Bama and Georgia played each other. Those are 2 playoff teams. Oregon, Ohio State played each other, 2 playoff teams. Texas played Michigan and Oklahoma, 2 teams that aren't going to be in the playoffs. So I'm still not completely sold on Texas. I do think they're a top 5 team in the country and in that tier 1 of teams, but I wouldn't put them in a tier or league of their own.
Yeah, I definitely. Well, that was kind of where Ole Miss was earlier this year. People were really crowning Ole Miss early, and boy, that game ended up being really good. LSU Ole Miss going to overtime there. Actually, I'll go to you, Hunter. Did you watch that game? Did you see how that ended up? That final play was actually pretty sick.
No, sadly, I was at my sister's Halloween party dressed as a cactus, so I could not watch the game.
Well, I can't wait for our Halloween episode then, because Hunter is going to be. I mean, your costumes are always top tier. But Chase, did you? I mean, when I saw that final play, I thought, oh, that might be OPI. Then you watch it back, and it's like, no, that was actually just really, really clean.
I didn't watch it. I saw the replay. I don't know what game I was watching at the time. I know. I saw the replay though,
God.
and it was a
Killing
hell
me.
of a play in overtime to win it. I mean, I originally looking at it like first glance like you thought it was OPI maybe, but I think he just tripped and fell pretty much and just gave it the catch for the touchdown.
Best receivers are going to make the DBs do that. And speaking of some of the best receivers, right, Georgia seems to have been a bit of a product with that. You know, obviously George Pickens coming out of there, and they were in top of the rankings for the last 2 years, back-to-back titles. Their game this week was a little bit interesting, though, Red. Will you break that down?
Yeah, they played Mississippi State, a team that's been considered one of the worst Power 4 teams in the country, only beat them by 10. Now, the score was 10, but it did feel like Georgia controlled that game a little bit more than what the scoreboard might say. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, it still was a 10-point game.
Yeah.
So I think we're seeing, just with the transfer portal, NIL, we're finally seeing what everyone was hoping it would do, and it's just bringing a lot more parity to the sport, and teams are a lot just better overall. There's more depth at some of these weaker schools, so you're not seeing quite as many blowouts. Seen a very similar thing with Vandy. They've always been the joke of the SEC. Now I want to say they're 5-2. So it's like the game's getting closer, teams are getting better. I'm not too worried about Georgia. It's like, okay, whatever, they only won by 10.
Right.
Whatever.
Well, and you see Iowa State undefeated right now. Army, Navy, both undefeated. I mean, it's a great time for college football. Realistically, everything about the sport just seems to be kind of popping off. And we've talked about it versus the NFL. That's a whole different debate in and of itself. But obviously, Georgia, that close win, kind of. First time at home first time, I think, just in general, they're an underdog in like 50 games this week against Texas. Obviously, this is me transitioning into this week upcoming of games. Georgia at Texas. Chase, what do you think about this Georgia team? Are they what's the deal? Should we put money on them as dogs?
That's a tough one, really. I could see the game going anyway. Since it's at Texas, I like Texas more. Just home field means a lot in college football, it seems like. But Georgia's nothing to just swipe away under the rug. You got to come to play when you play them. I think with all the talk and how close that Mississippi State game was, Georgia will want to prove something. But I won't be putting money on them personally. I probably won't bet on the game in general. But I think Texas is kind of a top tier team. I think Georgia's right there with them, obviously. I think it'll be close, but
Homie comes out and says Texas is by far the best team in the entire nation. And he's like, yeah, well, when they play good teams, I'm not going to bet on them.
Georgia. It's still Georgia.
I mean, talking big words, and then the bank account doesn't follow suit. I get it. Your zero of the week is always your bank account. But, I mean, Chase, we got to put money where our mouth is here.
It's been looking a lot better lately. But for that reason, I will not be betting Texas or Georgia.
Either one,
Or
apparently,
either.
just sticking away
Yeah, neither.
completely from that game. I mean, I don't
Watching
blame
it
you.
as a fan,
Yeah.
fan of college football.
Shocker.
Shocker. Yeah. Well, speaking of shockers,
If there's two teams I hate more than anything in this world, it's 65-7 Georgia, and it is the Longhorns. Horns down. But if I could say one thing about this game, Georgia's only lost to Alabama in the past 3 years. That's the only team that's been able to defeat Georgia. I don't think that Georgia is going to lose this game to Texas, even though that Texas has also been one of those teams that has beaten Alabama. But who knows? Who knows how it's going to shake out this year? It's a totally different ball game. But I would put my money on the dogs, especially if they're underdogs. You make some good money.
I was kind of curious if your mic was acting up or if your throat was just full of phlegm there, and it was amazing.
Yeah,
you
it
made
definitely
that
was.
Far. It was amazing you made it that far with all the phlegm there. Shout out.
Yeah.
That was pretty sick. But yeah, speaking of, I don't even remember what my transition was, but Oregon at Purdue this week, I think this is a slept-on game. Purdue has been just an absolute dethroner of top 3 teams over the last few years. Chase, this is a Big Ten matchup, so I will pivot to you here. And then, Red, I want to see what you think of this game as well, because I don't know. I kind of know where you're at, and I want to hear it into the microphone. But do we need to be nervous? Could Oregon fall off the top 3 here? Is Purdue looking to make a move?
Yeah, it's definitely a scary game for Oregon, I'd say. It sets up really similar to the Alabama Vandy game where Alabama came off beating Georgia and then go to Vandy, get upset. Oregon has to just beat Ohio State in a close game, top 4 matchup. They got to go to Purdue. Purdue does have that like weird thing where they like to beat top 3 teams at home, but I mean, I don't see it happening. I think Purdue is one of the worst teams in college football this year, so I think Oregon will handle them.
Yeah, West Lafayette, not a great place to play if you're in the top 3. Red, what do you think?
Yeah, I just ditto pretty much what everything Chase said. Everyone wants to it feels like, okay, Oregon's coming off a big win. Purdue has this history of beating top 10 teams at home. With that being said, I feel like Oregon's just the better team. Purdue in the past, when they had won some of these big games, had a little more talent to them, a little more explosiveness. This year just feels like a truly down year for them. So I'm sticking with Oregon. I don't think that Purdue stands a chance. I think Oregon gets them by 4 scores.
That's interesting. Hunter, do you have a different opinion on that? Because I feel like I'm a little bit more on Purdue's side here.
I think I'm more on Purdue's side for sure. I think Big Ten is a poverty program, and they just beat up on their entire division that's already shitty, and then they get ranked high, and then they go play another team of the same caliber in the same division, and they get upset. And everybody's like, oh my God, that's crazy. But really, the Big Ten has no one to play inside of itself except for Michigan and Ohio State. And Michigan sucks this year.
I was going to say, Michigan's a bold call there. I think Chase, what he brought up about them beating Ohio State in a close game, similar to Alabama, great. I like the parallels there. I don't know. I'm not gonna, I'm just turning to Chase here. I'm not going to put money on this game. But if I were to, I would definitely sprinkle something on Purdue. Now, one final college game here we got to break down. Potentially one of the better games this weekend. Alabama, number 7. Tennessee, number 11. Currently, spread is Alabama -3. This could be pretty interesting. I mean, Alabama, 5-1, by no means an automatic lock to win this college football playoffs, but they've been really good. And Jalen Milroe obviously is going to be in that Heisman conversation come, end of the year. Travis Hunter certainly had some interesting things to say about that whole thing, but I'll leave that to a different situation. What do you make of that, Red? Do you like this Alabama team, or is Tennessee coming in at home and going to just make some noise and kind of show who the top dogs are now?
Yeah, this feels like it's kind of a must-win for both teams almost. Whoever loses this game is going to have 2 losses in the SEC, 2 losses overall. 2 losses in the SEC means they're probably not going to play in the SEC championship game. That's kind of an issue. You're not playing that week, and you have 2 losses. You're a team that the committee can easily overlook.
Yeah.
If you have 2 losses but you played in your conference's championship game, it's going to be a lot harder for the committee to overlook you. So I think both of these teams are looking at this game as a must-win. It's definitely, I'd say, more a must-win for Tennessee, just because Alabama will have that win over Georgia on their resume, which helps them a lot. Tennessee doesn't have a team that they've beat like Alabama does. So Tennessee definitely needs to win this one, and Bama probably should want to win this as well, obviously.
Well, I think both teams definitely want to win. But, Hunter, what do you make of the Tennessee team? Obviously, with Joe Milton, was it? Who was their quarterback a few years ago? Tore his ACL.
Well, Milton was there, but you're
Yeah,
thinking
Milton
of
was there.
who was that guy?
I can't remember who that
He threw
was.
it to Hyatt. Oh,
He
geez.
was good, but they were good that
Thank you,
year.
guy.
And then as soon as he got hurt, it was
Hendon
kind of
Hooker.
over. Hooker, yes, great call. Thank you, Chase. I should have gone quad because you're the one that really knows what's going on here. But
No,
back
like,
to where we
I
were.
said that, but that's fine.
Anyways, Hunter, what do you think of this Tennessee team? I feel like they kind of just come out of the woodwork and then something goes wrong and they fall off the train tracks every single time. Is this the game that they fall off the train tracks?
No, I think this is their field rushing game. If I had to pick one, you know, I think this is the time for all the Vols out there to pack the stadium and tear down the goalpost and throw them back into the Knoxville River. I like Tennessee here, and I'm taking all three of these underdogs. I'm taking the Georgia Bulldogs, the Boilermakers, and the Vols. Throw it in a parlay, throw maybe $30 on it.
That's pretty heavy for that kind of parlay. You'd be making some serious dough. That'd be a great donation to the Marv on Air Foundation. I'm not gonna lie. Can you imagine that would be pretty sick. But if you are at home and looking to support the show, be sure to follow us on all our socials at YouTube. Obviously, that's probably where you're watching this. If you're listening on Spotify, leaving a review and sharing it with some of your friends is probably worth more than just liking it. Honestly, that's where the real money is. Speaking of real money. Trivia. You can make some real money in trivia, and we're done with our Talkin' 25 segment. I think it's time for TTTTTT Texas Trivia Man with the Texas guy speaking on trivia Tuesdays at
Texas
Wednesday.
Trivia Titan.
What do you got? For
All right,
Hunter?
we got. I think this is a great question, and it's kind of like an open-ended. I'm gonna say this: there's 5 teams in the NFL that have not retired a single jersey. Who are those 5 teams? That's the question. I'll give each one of you guys 1 strike.
1 strike. Okay, so you get to miss once. Well, I kind of want to go with a newer team. I'm going to go with the Jaguars.
No, not the Jaguars. But you should think new. You should think new for one of them.
I mean, I would definitely hope so. What do you got, Red?
Yeah, give me Panthers.
No, not the Panthers.
I wanted to go there.
I thought this was going to be easier.
That was a trap. Okay, it's down to you, Chase. You got to get all 5.
No, you guys get 1 more because it's your first strike, and now you get.
Oh, I see. So it's not like 3 strikes and you're out, like 1 strike and you're out. It's like 1 strike and then you get another strike.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, good to know. Chase,
What's the newest franchise, Chase?
I don't know, honestly.
2002. I think it's as old as us.
Let's throw out the Rams.
No, not the Rams. God, you guys suck.
The one he's referring to is Texans.
the Texans, yes.
Yes, thank you. Texans.
So we have
Texans
1.
are one of them.
What about Titans?
Not the Titans.
What? Can you say the Oilers? Does that count?
No, not the Oilers.
Okay, that's not a strike. I was just asking because that's an older team.
Commanders.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. These are all regular teams, not the Commanders.
Holy
But
shit.
one
You've guessed
NFC
over
East
half
team.
of them.
One's in the NFC East.
NFC East. Okay, that's an
You
easy
think-
one. Philly.
Giants.
No.
Well, then it's Dallas.
What the?
Yeah,
Dallas
the
hasn't
Cowboys-
retired?
The Cowboys have it?
But they have a ring
Cowboys-
of honor. It's the same.
The Cowboys
concept.
don't retire jerseys. That's the whole reason they have the 88 club.
This is a trick question. This isn't even fun.
All right, one is okay. So we have what, 3 more now?
Yes.
Okay, one of them just moved cities.
Okay, Chargers.
Cincinnati.
Raiders.
Thank you, Chase.
Good one.
All right, and the last 2 are birds.
Ravens.
Yes.
Seattle.
And
Falcons.
yes, Falcons.
All right, name all 5 of them for the listeners.
So the Atlanta Falcons traditionally do not retire jerseys. The Baltimore Ravens have not officially retired any of them. I'm thinking Lamar will be first ballot.
Probably.
The Dallas Cowboys don't do it at all. They want the 88 club. They want all that fame, you know. The Houston Texans are just too young, and I don't think they retire them either. I think J.J. Watt would definitely have a retired jersey. And the Raiders just traditionally just don't do it.
Interesting. Well, thank you for that little tidbit there, Hunter. It was significantly harder than I presume you thought it would be.
Yeah, well, I
no
mean, I
kidding.
would have guessed Houston right away because I'm like, Houston, they can't retire a jersey if they've only been a thing for 20 years.
Yeah, well, my first guess was the Jags, as you heard. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fair.
It's the same thought process, but it's a different team. Speaking of different teams, we have quite a few games to go over. A lot of different teams going on. No one team plays the same team, right? They are not going to have any inter-squad games this weekend. It is all going to be official exhibition matches in the NFL. It is time for Marv on Air Handicap Hour. Boys, couldn't be more excited. Let's fire through these. Let's get the listeners some picks. Hey, it's just a little note. Hey, if you're listening, Chase picked every single winner correct last week. Literally every one. So that's something to keep in mind. I was the worst. I was the worst. Red was second worst, and the books were tied for second worst. Chase was the best. Very good week for Chase. I'm not going to lie. Let's kick it off with Broncos at Saints. By the time you're seeing this, it will be tonight. Saints currently, that's not the line. This is my line. I have the Saints minus 2.5. What do you got here, Red?
Ditto. 2.5 Saints.
Okay, Chase, your team.
1.5 Saints.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. Any thoughts, Hunter?
Cool. I like the Broncos. I think the Broncos are like those 4 beers that are in your stomach after you take a tequila shot. Love them or hate them, they're coming up. Give me the Broncos.
Love it.
I like it. Next up, I've got Patriots at the Jags. This is an interesting one. Jags are just horrible. Obviously, the Patriots start Drake May last week. Things do look promising, but I'm not necessarily in love with the entire team. As far as Drake May's play, I think there is upside there. He threw more touchdowns in 1 week than we saw from Jacoby Brissett all year. And for that reason, I'm going to take the Patriots minus 1.5 here. I think they might sneak this one in. Red.
You left out an important detail about this game, and that is that this game's over in London, mate.
Yes.
The Jaguars are playing in London.
Hey, what's a good point there, mate?
The Jaguars love playing in London. They're London's team. Give me the Jaguars minus 1.5.
That is a good point. I didn't even think about that. Chase, what do you think of this London home team that is the Jaguars?
Yeah, I had.
Oh,
I
no.
wanted to-
Where's the accent,
No,
Chase?
you need to have the accent with the trumpet and
Not
tease.
doing
And
it.
let me just throw in here really quickly while you find your accent, Chase, that this is the only other primetime game for the Patriots, so I will certainly be getting up at 9:30 to watch this game, and I turned Irish in there. So, Chase, it is all on you now.
I don't have an accent for you.
Okay, you don't have a pick
I
then. Moving on to the next game.
All right.
Whoa.
Do you have an accent, Hunter?
Yeah, Hodge has got it.
Let me just say this. If there's one thing that I can say about this game, and I'm really glad about this, is that it's at 8:30, and I can actually sleep in through this entire game. If this game was in prime time, I still would take a nap and not watch this bullshit. Patriots versus the Jags, give me a fucking break. I'm not coming around this at all.
I don't mind it. Chase, you have one last chance.
Move on.
Just give me your pick.
I have Jacksonville 1.5. I wanted to take the Pats, but Jacksonville's been there all week, so.
Gotcha. All right. Next up, we got Lions and the Vikings in Minnesota. I think I'm going to go Lions minus 4.5 here. Obviously, without Hutchinson, that's not great, but the Vikings, I think, might be a little bit more fraudulent than the team from Detroit. What do you got here, Red?
That's my exact same thinking. Vikings, they're bound to lose at some point. Lions look extremely good. I said Lions 4.5 as well.
Okay, Chase.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. Vikings got to lose sometime. Lions are kind of on a roll right now. I don't love Hutchinson being out, but I got the Vikings Colts minus 1.5.
The Colts are playing in this game too?
Wow, I am just on fire right now.
No wonder you won so many games last week.
Yeah,
You just
picking
Detroit
teams.
minus 1.5.
there we go.
Hunter.
This is a win-win game for me. I love to see the Vikings still stay undefeated, but my boss is a Lions fan, so if they don't win, Monday could be hell.
Fair enough. Okay, next up we got Titans at Bills. I think I'm going to take the Bills minus 10.5 here. Titans don't look particularly impressive, but my money is on the fact that Will Levis will drop another meme picture. What do you got, Red?
Yeah, I also think that the Titans are terrible. Will Levis is fun,
Yes.
but not very good.
Not like Jameis Winston fun either, though.
Correct.
Just
I am
mean.
excited to see what Amari Cooper looks like in Buffalo. I think
Yes.
that will be a lot of fun. I'm saying Bills minus 17.5.
Oh, wow. What a big spread there. And Chase to round us off.
I have Bills minus 5.5.
Okay, so we are heavy on the Bills. What do you think there, Hunter?
No comment. Same as
Got
Chase.
you. Got you. Next up, the team that we thought might be playing in the Minnesota-Detroit game. We have the Dolphins in the Colts facility this week. This is going to be a fun one. Maybe Tua makes a comeback, but not quite this week. I think with Tua out, I'm going to take the Colts minus 5.5.
Yep, I'm going Colts minus 2.5. I think the Dolphins are going to have a little juice. They're like, okay, Tua's almost back. Let's try to ramp it up here. I'm going Colts minus 2.5 over the Dolphins.
Gotcha.
Similar thought. I got Colts minus 4.5.
Okay, heavy on the Colts yet again. Hunter, what are your thoughts?
I like the Dolphins' colors. I'll throw $10 on them.
All right, fair enough. Next up, we got Seahawks at Falcons. Two birds going at it in Atlanta. I don't know. I don't think the Seahawks are that good. I think they just had a good start to the season, a favorable schedule to start. I like Kirko Chains, Kirko Swag Surf. I'm going to take the Falcons minus 4.5. What do you got here, Red?
Yeah, I feel kind of the same way about the Seahawks, but I think it's going to be a little bit tighter. I don't think the Falcons quite have that, knockout ability. So I'm taking Falcons minus 1.5.
Excuse me. Go ahead, Chase.
I'm on the same page. I think that Seattle defense is too beat up right now. I got Falcons minus 2.5.
Gotcha. And Hunter, any thoughts?
This is my mascot mashup, so I was basically going off of what mascot would win. And we got Seahawks have a bigger wingspan than a peregrine falcon, but a peregrine falcon is also the fastest animal on earth at 240 miles per hour. Give me the Falcons.
I didn't know that. That's pretty fast.
Fraudulent stat, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
Google that.
I'm against peregrine falcons.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and
Just put that on the record.
I think that's a fair assessment. Next up, I think we got a really good game here in the Texans at the Packers. This one might be a little bit slept on, but I do think it will end up being pretty good. The Packers have looked good recently. Jordan Love kind of falling back into rhythm here. That being said, Texans minus 3.5 for me. Red, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most interesting games on the slate this weekend just because both of these teams, people think they're good, but just how good are they and how do they match up against each other? I'm taking the Packers minus 1.5.
The other side of the ball. And Chase, what are your thoughts?
Same side of the ball as Redden. Green Bay at home. I got a minus 2.5.
I'm surprised I'm the only one on the Texans side. Hunter.
I wish Big Pharma could invent a pill that would help you not blink for 3 hours so I could watch this entire game. Give me the Texans.
Okay. Kind of the opposite of what we heard out of a few games last week. I do agree. I think we have better games this week than last. But this game would have occurred last week. We got the Bengals at the Browns. Browns after trading away Amari Cooper. The Bengals still don't seem to really have their identity. This is a pick 'em for me. It's just going to be a bit of a trash bowl. I've got the Bengals minus 1.5. Red, what do you got?
Yeah, the Browns are bad. They're
are
truly bad. They're starting to sell off all their spare parts to try to get some value out of the season. So I'm going Cincy minus 19.5.
Wowza.
I think they're going to come in, they're going to just kill them, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh, are they back? Are they back?" And in reality, the answer is yes, but not to the extent people are saying.
I do like the call on the storyline there. That is a very real possibility. Chase, what do you think?
I'm on a similar boat as Redden, not quite as severe. I have the Bengals minus 6.5. I just think this Cleveland team is really bad.
They certainly are not good. And Hunter, your thoughts?
I know a blonde girl in Cincinnati, and she has a big butt, and hopefully she'll text me if the Bengals win. So give me the Bengals.
Shout out to her. Let's get her this clip. I'm sure she'll see it and appreciate it. One last game in the early window for us this week. Eagles at Giants. This one's interesting. I don't think the Giants are very good. But the Eagles, I think they kind of just had a good game. I don't think they're necessarily a good team either. I took the Eagles at 2.5, but I think I'm going to push that to 3.5 just to, make it a little bit interesting. What do you think, Red?
Yeah, I think I was debating this one back and forth. Part of me really wanted to say Giants 6.5, but I'm going to go Eagles minus 1.5. I'm chalking this up as a Saquon game.
Yeah.
I think he scores 2-3 touchdowns, and nobody else on the Eagles probably scores, and this is like a 19-21 game.
I didn't even think about Saquon returning to MetLife. I need to adjust my score. Yep. I'm going 6.5 Eagles. I think that's honestly a little bit underplayed. So I got 6.5. You've got a 1.5, if I'm not mistaken. And Chase, your thoughts?
Yeah, similar thoughts. I didn't think about Saquon returning, but I had the Eagles minus 2.5.
Okay, fair enough. And Hunter?
I hate both these teams. I don't want to talk on it.
So depressed. All right, late window coming at you. We got Raiders at Rams in LA. Raiders without Devontae now. Does that boost the morale of the locker room, or is everyone a little bit depressed, not sure if they get to keep their job moving forward? I think it might be the latter. I've got the Rams minus 4.5 here. What are your thoughts, Red?
Yeah, I'm going Rams 2.5. This isn't a game I care to tune into too much. Raiders are in a similar spot as the Browns, where they're selling spare parts. Rams they're just, for whatever reason, year after year, they feel like the most hurt team in America. Like they have 6 guys who are constantly only out 2 to 3 weeks, and it just is kind of a revolving door of dudes out 2 to 3 weeks. Give me the Rams -2.5.
I like it. And Chase, your thoughts?
Similar thoughts. I think I saw Cup was questionable to come back this week.
I saw him moving today on Twitter. I don't know if he's. I would put my money on no, but questionable is questionable.
Well, either way, I have the Rams -1.5.
Okay, Hunter, your thoughts?
This is a game I will not be watching. Honestly, I'd rather probably cut off all my legs and reattach them Mr. Potato Head style than turn this game on.
Christ. All right, I just want to throw in there, wouldn't it be interesting to see Max Crosby if they just sold off all their guys? Max Crosby to the Lions or something.
That would be nuts.
I think that'd be crazy.
Nuts.
I did see online today people, the talking heads, they were like, that. The only problem with that is that then every single Raider is like, well, he did everything right. Like, we're all cooked. So I don't know if they're going to make that move just for that reason alone, but it would be something interesting to watch. Probably the only thing interesting going on in the Raiders season all year. Next up, we got the Panthers at the Commanders. I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. Commanders, bit of a bounce-back game after that bump in the road against the Ravens. I have a -13.5. What do you got here, Red?
Yeah, I think the Ravens are a very, very good team, so I don't worry about that loss to them too much. I think the Commanders are going to want to come out and kind of reassert themselves as a team to be talked about. I'm going Commanders -12.5.
Yeah, and you, Chase?
Similar thought. A little less. I have a -9.5 Commanders.
Gotcha. Okay, and next up, the America's most hated team versus our lover boy, Brock Purdy. Chiefs at 49ers. As much as I hate to say it, it's the last of our 3:30 games. It'll probably be Tony Romo just gagging over there on the microphone, but we all know it's not really the microphone. I got Chiefs -6.5. What do you got, Red?
Yeah, I think that this is a game that the Niners are they're gonna control for 3 quarters, probably 3.5 quarters. Mahomes is gonna score a touchdown with probably like 7 minutes left in the game to cut it down to 3, and then Niners are going to turn the ball over or punt, and then Mahomes goes and wins the game on a touchdown. That's how these games go year after year, time after time. Give me the Chiefs -2.5.
I like it. And for you, Mr. Chase?
Yeah, this should be a really good game. I have it as a pick 'em. I took the Niners -1, just one.
Okay, that's our first ever non-half point.
Very interesting, Chase.
That is opening the doors. We have ground-breaking decisions being made here on Marv on Air. What an interesting call. I don't know if I like it that close, but that is neither here nor there because it is your pick. Hunter, what are your thoughts?
Let me throw the Niners in my underdog parlay.
Ooh, interesting. Well, I don't know what the books are saying. That's just what we think,
Chiefs will be favored.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, Chiefs are favored.
They're not. It's -1 San Fran, -1.5.
Oh, well, that's
yikes. Okay, well, that's a line we should keep an eye on. I definitely should have been saying all the lines, but if you're following along at home, you know what's going on. You know by now what we're doing. Okay, that's all from you then, Hunter, right?
Yep.
Good. Next up, we got Sunday Night Football. 3 games left, but we are already on Sunday Night Football. Don't get disguised. Don't get confused. Do not get combobulated here. We've got the Jets at the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Jets now acquiring Davante Adams. Mike Tomlin having to prepare for Davante Adams 2 weeks in a row. Maybe he's a little bit extra prepared. I don't really know if that helps them or hurts them. Maybe Davante knows what's going on with Mike Tomlin a little bit better. That being said, I do think the Steelers win this one 4.5. I don't know if Davante's enough to elevate the Jets to that next level. What do you think, Red?
Yeah, I'm saying the same things, kind of. Steelers -2.5.
Yeah.
Jets, they're just a mess. They're one of those organizations. I talk a lot about organizations. I think the organization wins out more time than not. Steelers fall into the good organization category, kind of. They just have Mike Tomlin. And the Jets fall into the terrible organization category. Yes, they have Davante. Yes, he's played with Rodgers before. Davante, 2 catches, 26 yards. Steelers win.
Gotcha. What's the line on that?
I said 2.5.
Gotcha.
I don't
Okay.
know what Vegas has it at.
And Chase?
I'm going opposite of you guys. I like New York here. Pittsburgh's going to start Russell Wilson, I guess, is what I'm hearing.
Oh, I
I
didn't
don't
think
know
about
if
that.
that's confirmed or
Yeah, I
not.
didn't even think
Jets
about that.
-4.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I take the Jets
So,
minus 3.
I mean,
Jets minus 4.5. I'm changing it.
I like I got New York minus 3.5. I just don't think this Pittsburgh team is going to be as good as New York. Wilson's going to be opened up. Devontae's going to be opened up, ready to roll. Rodgers is throwing the ball around.
So you've got a minus 2.5?
3.5.
3.5. And you moved
I'm taking
yours.
Jets 4.5.
4.5. I think what
Russell Wilson's terrible.
I want to do this, and I want to get a little fancy here. I think that Russell Wilson will start. He will be terrible, and then Justin Fields will have to come in and clean it up. And I wonder if he gets it done. And this would be one of the coolest.
He's not a come from behind guy.
He's not, but wouldn't it be an awesome storyline? I'm going to move my line, but I'm not going to switch the sides. I'm going to take the Steelers minus 0.5. I think they win this one by 1 point. What do you think here, Hunter?
I see what you're throwing in there. Okay, now this makes sense why this is primetime Sunday Night Football. I like what you're saying, Marv. I'm on your path.
Okay, I definitely think that could be a possibility. And now, Monday Night Football, game number 1. Ahoy, mateys, as the Ravens take on the Buccaneers at home. This one could be actually really good because everybody knows Ravens sit on Buccaneers' shoulders, right? They're higher up, they're better, but no, the Buccaneers are the base underneath the Raven. They're the ones that control where the Raven goes. False. Ravens can fly. Give me the Ravens minus 2.5. What do you think, Red?
Wow.
I'm going to disagree. I think Baker Mayfield is the one who knocks. Give me the Bucks minus 1.5. Ravens taking the L.
I like it. And Chase?
I have the Ravens minus 2.5 as well.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't expect to be on the other side of that from Red, but Chase, of course, we think on the same wavelength. What do you got here, Hunter?
Well, Marv, we actually think on the exact same wavelength because 3 hours ago at work, I thought that exact same analogy with Pirates. Give me the Bucks. I think Mayfield's gonna have a big brother moment against Lamar tonight or Monday night.
That would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
That's going to be a fun game.
It
one
is.
way or the other.
It is.
Yeah.
And usually when you get to Monday night and they have the doubleheader, one stinks and one is really good. I will be interested to see because on paper, I think they're a lot more similar. You know, you can't really just say it's like, oh, Chiefs, 49ers versus Bengals, Browns. We know which game's going to be the good game. I think these are a little bit closer. The second game on Monday Night Football is Chargers at Cardinals. We talked with Bo Brack about this. Bo seems to think this is a game that the Cardinals can win. I disagree. Sorry, Bo, but I've got the Chargers minus 10.5. What do you have here, Redbone?
Yeah, I'm not quite sold on the Cardinals yet. This is a Jim Harbaugh bet for me. I'm saying Chargers minus 2.5. I love Jim Harbaugh. I love that he is affiliated with Connor Stallions. That's just awesome to me. Hire Connor Stallions. Chargers minus 2.5.
Yeah, if we had the money in the budget, we would definitely have Connor Stallions sitting on that seat right there. The problem would be you would never speak because you'd be busy looking at him the entire time and trying to keep.
He'd be off doing like CIA stuff. Like he'd be taking down other podcasts. It'd be incredible.
That would be a hire. That would be a hire worth making. Chase, what do you make of this final game in this week of NFL football?
Similar thought as Redden. Harbaugh, I got the Chargers minus 2.5.
Anytime you can bet with Harbaugh, that's a great bet in my opinion. What do you got, Hunter, on your thoughts, not only maybe on this game, but on the week as a whole?
Well, on the week as a whole, it sounds like I'm going to make a whole lot of money throwing some sugar down on some money line bets for some underdogs. But as far as this game goes, I'm going to trust the guy that reports on the Cardinals almost every day and go with Bo Brack's pick of the Cardinals.
That makes sense.
Bo Brack's got a
Good
friend
logic.
in Hunter Licensing. Shout out to Hunter for probably
The
saving
most
our program.
informed guy on the entire organization. You guys are like, I don't believe him.
Fair point.
Hunter just saved us. Bo can now come back on. He doesn't hate us anymore, which is probably a good call. It is now time as we wrapped up Handicap Hour. We hope you enjoyed that. Don't go anywhere. We've got 2 more segments. We first up have TTT. Texas Trivia Time on Tuesday. Not Tuesday, but Thursday. With the Texas man, Hunter T. Licensing Trivia Night. Go ahead, Hunter. What do you got?
This is a good one. So the top 20 televised.
TTT.
Yeah. The top 20 televised live events. How many of them have been Super Bowls?
6.
Sporting events only or just televised events in general?
Good question.
Just televised events in general.
Are the Grammys on there?
No.
Why would the Grammys be on there?
That feels like a big event. I don't know. People
I
like
feel
that.
like the Oscars before
No
the
one
Grammys,
watches the
but
Grammys.
I'm worried about the World Cup.
The World Cup, cricket final, also big. Slept on. I'm sure that's actually
Yep.
probably like number 3 or 4. People will laugh when I say that, and then they'll hear me explain it, and they'll be like, oh, this guy's really smart. I think it's 6.
if you guys are okay, so think about it this way:
Give me
whenever they
18.
calculate,
13.
No.
okay, if you guys said like Marv, I would have gave you a hint, but Redden was the closest. It's actually 19 of the top 25 televised events have been Super Bowls, with number
Whoa.
10 or 11 being the final episode of MASH, which is the Army
Actually, I feel like I knew
sitcom
that.
from the
Was-
70s.
I
Was
feel like that's
Breaking-
commonly talked about.
Was Breaking Bad on that?
No.
I'm
Well,
surprised.
the thing is that with like the Tour de France obviously pulls like the most, and then the Olympics and stuff like that, but they accumulated over 2 weeks. So obviously you're going to get billions of viewers, but this is a one-time event. So it kind of be like looking at just the men's championship gold medal game.
So
you
that
know,
makes sense.
what you're saying is that football is king.
Shocker.
football is king, and so is Army sitcoms.
Honestly, I don't mind that. That's actually, I like that. I do like that. Now, speaking of what I like, let's jump right into our final segment for today. One of our most stood the test of time segments. Let's call it that. I am surprised we have done so well with this. It is time for Zero to Hero. Let's go.
This episode of Marv on Air is brought to you by West Ames Hy-Vee. West Ames Hy-Vee is your one-stop shop for all things grocery and household items. West Ames Hy-Vee provides you with great customer experience and premium products, all in an easy and convenient way. You can shop in-store, sign up for curbside pickup, or even get your groceries delivered right to your front doorstep. Here at Marv on Air, we love Hy-Vee, and we know you will too. Stop by West Ames Hy-Vee today, where there's a helpful smile in every aisle. Now, here's Zero to Hero of the Week.
Hunter, why don't you kick us off? Start us with your zero this week.
Shit, dude, you always kick me off, and I have nothing to say.
It's not as
You
bad
go,
as,
please.
it's not quite as bad as asking you to introduce the Handicap Hour last week, which I learned my lesson. Thank God we moved on from that. But I can take over. I can take over the Zero to Hero. I'm going to start, and actually it's probably best that I go first because this one is it's a very important zero to me. The weather. Why am I walking out of my apartment and it's 20 fucking degrees, and then by the middle of the day it's 65 or 68 or whatever it was today? I'm carrying around a winter coat looking like a complete dumbass in shorts and a sweatshirt. I don't get it. I don't like it. It's Iowa weather every fall. I get it. It's something I got to cope with. I got to learn to live with. But I can't stand it. That's just me. If you want to chime in, go ahead. Otherwise, Red and the floor is yours.
Yeah, my
I was
zero
just
of the
gonna
week
say-
is Bronny James.
Go ahead, Hunter.
In Texas, they woke up and it was 53, and in the middle of the day it was 96. So
That's terrible.
That's horrible.
yeah, just
What is
really
happening?
not.
Is the Earth
worse
even the Earth
almost.
anymore?
Yeah, you walk to your 8 a.m. and then you go back and you got to start stripping down halfway.
You're walking
Not
out
the
in
worst thing in
snow
the world
boots.
being on TCU's campus and seeing that, but continue.
I mean,
You know who I think's to blame? My zero of the week, Bronny James.
Okay, good
I'm
call.
pretty sure he has had a negative effect on weather. I don't have any data behind that or anything other than just belief and vibes. But in terms of vibes, if there was one person who would make the weather terrible and it would make 0 sense whatsoever, it would be Bronny James. So my zero of the week is Bronny James because he should not be in the NBA.
Oh, not because he's controlling the weather.
Okay.
That's just, that's kind of like a side quest for him is ruining the weather.
If you know Bronny James and you're listening to this, send him a little letter and just say we want to talk. Just say we want to talk.
I got his
Say
phone
like
number. I'll give
68
him
and tell him we want 68 and sunny on Saturday.
every single day of the year. Chase, who is your zero for the week?
a FaceTime.
My zero is Columbia High School out of Huntsville,
Oh
Alabama.
yeah, dude, I heard about that.
They have lost 87 straight games in
Oh
football.
my.
They have not won a game since 2015.
Oh no!
Are they doing this on purpose?
They have to
There's-
be. They got to be tanking. There's got to be some sort of future high school draft.
Got to be
that
a
we don't know
draft
about.
somewhere.
Yeah,
They got to be tanking.
Yeah.
it's a meme. They're doing it on purpose.
Do they
I
have
mean,
a
that's
coach?
just crazy.
Like that's
No,
what I would
I-
expect if Chase was the coach. But
I
this seems
was
to be a
breaking
real
it
program.
down. Dude, I was looking at the box scores. The box scores are insane. It looks like TCU Georgia for every single game that they have, and like every 4 games they score. Like it's 0, 0, 0, 0, 3, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 7. Like they'll be lucky to maybe get 28 points in a season.
This sounds like their field goal kicker's pretty good when he gets an opportunity.
Yeah, just get him in range. That's not too much to ask.
I mean,
this is a throwback that nobody listening will understand, but I will tell the story. Chase and I were on a baseball team that got run ruled in every single game.
Holy shit.
Over the course of a summer. We never just lost either. We never got to the ninth inning. I think it was usually inning 4 when it jumped. The run rule jumped from 25 to 10, and we were usually between 10 and 25. See you later. We were on to the next one, enjoying our orange slices and trying not to cry, essentially. So I get where they're coming from, but we had some of the most fun on that team, honestly, Chase. And Chase, you can kind of confirm what I'm saying. That was a lot of fun that summer.
No, it was a great time being with the boys, playing ball, but losses are tough. I hate losing. I'm sure all the guys out of Columbia, Alabama, or Huntsville, Alabama, hate losing as well. Tough scene for them.
I mean, hopefully they can turn it around, right? Like, I'm sure at some point maybe they win something else.
Been
like
8 years, Marv. Nothing's happening.
Maybe they need to hold like rock, paper, scissors in the locker room just to get a win, just to get some momentum. Like you have a 2 and 3 chance. Speaking of, gotcha.
Oh no!
Chase, no!
I got that.
I just, man.
That's
what do you tell your team when you go into the locker room and you're the head coach and you take off your mask and like, well, same shit happened that it did the last week and the week before that.
And the year and the year
past decade.
and the year before that. That's a lot of losses. I mean,
and then all the comments in that like post for like, yeah, we used to have them at homecoming, but then they fell off the face of the earth. And then I looked at that too. The past 3 years, they've only played like 6 teams a year. I don't know what's going on with this high school, but
they probably don't schedule. No one wants to schedule them.
Yeah, it's a waste of time for the other teams at this point. Maybe they need to have inner squads.
If it's your homecoming, I mean, I don't know.
Is it
homecoming guaranteed win?
It's almost like a higher risk
like
of
us.
injury.
It's like us with Mid Prairie.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, I suppose. Hunter, who is your 0 for the week? Did you have enough time to amass a understanding of what's going on in the world as a whole and pick out one thing to be your 0 of the week?
Yes, I did, and it is baby oil.
Do you want to elaborate on that, or do you just?
No, I'm just playing. No, it's Travis Hunter. I saw what he said on that talk show about how he thinks he's like the second coming of Christ. And it is pissing me off when Austin Genty is throwing up video game numbers and he's not even stat padding. What'd I say?
Austin, it's Ashton.
My bad, y'all. My bad.
We just don't want to burn that bridge in case he wants to come on because he might be the greatest college football player of all time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, true. Very true, very true. But the only thing I like about Travis Hunter is his last name, and that's all I can speak on it.
That's fair enough. Red, I kind of want to get your opinion on that since we have talked so much about the Heisman, and this will be a little bit more of a serious conversation, I guess. But really, Ashton Genty has just – I mean, when you look at the numbers against like Barry Sanders or some of these other great running backs of all time in college, he's outpacing them at this point in the schedule. I understand where Travis Hunter is coming from, that he is allegedly a better player on both sides of the ball. He mentioned if he had 93 targets like Genty has 93 rush attempts – where do you think his numbers would be? And I'm like, well, that's not really how receivers work, my friend. That's really not what happens.
Fuck does that make sense?
Like, you can't say, okay, well, what if I had 9 million catches? Guess what? I probably have more yards than you, my friend. That's just what would happen. But I can see where he is coming from. Do you like his comments, and do you side with him in this, Red?
Well, I can't stand his comments. I don't think he should be saying that. I think if anything, it hurts him more than helps. But his argument is what people in favor of him winning the Heisman say. Like what he said wasn't like exactly factually inaccurate. It's just you're not supposed to say that, I guess. And it's like whatever. But Ashton Genty is having an incredible year. I think if you're Travis Hunter, instead of going on a talk show and trying to like get voters to vote for you, you should probably just go play better.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Put up better stats then, dude.
And Chase, I'll ask you, and we'll move on to I think I have to lead off the hero segment. It's do you think that these comments hurt Travis Hunter or help Travis Hunter in his hopes of winning the Heisman?
I don't think they really make a difference. I think it's decided on the field as it should be. This isn't a PR award. This is a football
The Heisman
player
is
award.
famously a PR award.
How so?
What do you mean? If it was just based purely on statistics, like, We wouldn't
Like
be giving
Caleb
Heisman's
Williams?
to Mark Ingram.
Yeah, you're right. Caleb Williams definitely
he
shouldn't have
performed
won it.
well. You perform well in the field, you get the award. Ashton
Yeah,
Jenkins
but typically you
putting
also
up
this year's
his-
different where there's no like if Alabama was undefeated right now, Jalen Milroe would be the front runner for Heisman.
Let me
Yeah,
change
same
my
with TCU
stance
with
on
Josh
this.
Hoover for sure.
I don't think it should be a PR award. It should be a on the field play award.
Correct.
Okay, we could have that conversation all day about every single award ever.
True.
I don't know where you want me to go with this. I
will
think
say-
Ashton's the front runner. I mean, his comments on saying I play both sides of the ball is fantastic, but whatever, dude. You're not like, I don't know. It's
I'm with
between those two, obviously.
In my opinion, I agree. And your comment.
A lot of people are saying Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
No.
Okay. I've had people swear by Cam Ward and show me futures of them placing large amounts of money on Cam Ward.
Well,
I just don't think
Congrats
he's
I
on
gonna
have
make it.
Cam Ward, but I placed it preseason, and I haven't loved what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I don't think it's there. I just don't think it's there. But Chase, you do mention PR award, right? We may be staring down the pipe. Here's my hero for the week of a man who wins the award that he could potentially win with absolutely zero PR. Like almost negative, like, aura. It's like negative aura. This guy doesn't have negative aura, but his PR is just, it's actually amazing because he's so good on the field that he is like, it doesn't matter what he says or does. Like, he doesn't have to gain any attention. I'm speaking on Caden Weegan was named kind of like a midseason watch list for the Jet Award. It's like the college football's most outstanding return specialist. And that's my hero for the week. And then I want to say, I hope to God, and I hate Iowa with a burning passion, and that is a clear sentiment on this show that cannot be misunderstood. But they need to figure this shit out and see this and be like, hey, Caden's got to be on the field. I mean, that's literally the only thing that this is good for at this point. I mean, if he wins the award, great, good for him. He deserves it. But Iowa's got to see this and be like, we have an absolute weapon, and we're choosing not to use him. I will understand it. Chase, what are your thoughts? And do you think this is enough to turn him around?
I have similar thoughts. I think he needs to see the field a lot more on offense. He had a carry last week for 11 yards on a pretty cool design, like misdirection pitch to Caleb Johnson. He came in between, picked it off, I guess, per se, and took it for like 11 yards. One carry, 11 yards, pretty good average. He's so explosive. I don't see how you don't get the ball in his hand more. He averaged like 23 yards return, had a punt return for 37. We never really had bad field position that whole Washington game, and I think a lot of it is due to Caden. But he should get more recognition, and he probably should get more playing time. But I'm not a coach, so not much I can do about it.
I agree.
Yeah, I'd obviously love to see him play more, and I think he should play more. But it's gonna take a punt return touchdown or something, and hopefully the Iowa fans call him for him to play more. I think that one thing about Iowa is they do seem to, when there's outside pressure about, we want to see this outside of quarterback, they do seem to, like last year we saw it at the end of the year, DeJean was starting to see offensive snaps just because Iowa fans wanted to see him play offense. So hopefully maybe there'll be a similar effect with Caden. But
yeah,
little fun fact for you, Hunter. Little fun fact for you. Who is the Jet Award named after?
Ooh, Kenny the Jet Smith.
Is Jet in his name?
His nickname was the Jet.
Oh, LaDainian Tomlinson?
No. Incorrect.
I don't know.
Oh, gee. Oh,
That
Sammy
would be
Baugh.
Johnny Rogers, former Nebraska punt returner.
Oh, Nebraska, you say?
Yeah, just a little
Oh,
coincidence.
so this shouldn't be something that you should be posting on Instagram that you're on the watch list then.
Oh, my God.
I don't know. He's one of the greatest returners of all time, but,
I'm just playing. I think this is really cool, and I did not know this, but I just looked it up. There's only 15 people on this list, but one of them is also J.P. Richardson from TCU. So,
they're going back and, giving out the awards for the last decades. I think every year they're, since they've been releasing it, they're, going back and releasing, okay, who would it have been in the 60s? Who would it have been in the 70s?
That's kind of
So they're
cool.
going back and doing it after the fact, which is kind of cool.
I almost would make that my hero. That's pretty sick, actually.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, who's your hero then?
My hero of the week is the guy. He's a Penn State fan, and USC does this thing where they allow their donors I think it's like $1,500 or something. You can run out with the team. Well, not with the team. You run out like right ahead of the team. The Jets had just done their flyover at the LA Coliseum. It's full stadium, everything, literally like 45 seconds before USC runs out themselves. It only costs $1,500 to do this, so a Penn State fan just happened to donate $1,500 to the University of Southern California and ran out of the LA Coliseum, out of the USC tunnel, decked out in Penn State stuff. And it's awesome because if you're a college football fan and you have $1,500 laying around and you have the means to do it, you might as well run out on the field. Like, why not?
I would love to see this.
This guy got to run out in the LA Coliseum.
I would actually love to see this become a thing where it's like the people running out of the tunnel are just like fans of the other team.
But like, how didn't USC think that through? Like, $1,500 is like, yes, it's a lot of money, but that's not a huge like barrier to entry number.
Right. Yeah. Especially when you consider the people that would do that, I feel
Yeah,
like would be.
They got the money.
Yeah, you know, we have that at TCU, but it's usually 6 to 10-year-olds that do it. So that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard out of USC.
It is pretty cool,
They're
though.
making 6 to 10-year-olds pay $1,500 to run out on the field.
No, that's the thing. It's free.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah,
That makes
but
more sense.
The kids do it. The kids, and it's really funny because they run in front of the student section, and I guess it's not 6 to 10-year-olds because there are some toddlers there that just fucking tumble and get like run over, and it's like a stampede. But it's a really good pregame thing. And now that TCU football sucks, it's like you got to focus on the little things throughout the game to make your like self feel better about being in the stadium and watching your team get pounded on. That's like the first thing that I notice.
That is definitely something that Iowa fans can relate to. Their poverty-ass program is simply struggling in the Big Ten this year. Chase, who's your hero for the week? Maybe boost your kind of just how you're feeling at this point. I'm sure, you know, the Iowa situation, I brought that up. You're probably like, oh, God, I forgot about that. I feel like shit now. Well, who's your hero? Can we boost your
You look
spirits?
so sad, dude. You look like a combination of Ed, and Eddie.
I just that was a little disrespectful. I
That's
feel.
crazy.
Cheer up,
That's
man.
crazy. Go ahead, Chase.
I have a
I'd
shitty
first
team
like
too,
to-
but I got a smile on my face.
I'd first like to comment and
Pucker in
say
my ass.
Iowa is not a shitty team. 40-16 this week looked good.
Who'd you
Glad
play?
where we're at. But my hero is Dan Lanning, Oregon's head coach, for the 12 man on the field penalty. I know the NCAA is looking into this now, which is a bunch of shit.
Rule
because
change
the
already.
Did it really?
Today. They initiated
I mean,
today.
It
Took 'em 3 days.
probably.
Holy
You could
shit!
probably
I'll give you
say
that
it
one,
needs to be
Chase.
changed, but I mean, he gave up 4 seconds for a 5-yard penalty and took away a big play because he had 12 men on the field. It was coming out of a timeout. I don't see a way he didn't do this on purpose. A lot of people are saying it was an accident and just a confusion, but I think it was a great play by him and ended up winning them the football game when it comes down to it.
It really did. And I'll say this. When I was on the field, before timeout, after timeout, middle of the play, doesn't matter. I was making errors left and right. Now, I wasn't playing D1 football, so it is a little bit more likely that this was done on purpose. And I will say, the rule has now changed. It took them 4 days or whatever because Ohio State was involved and they lost. They were on the losing end of this coin. Brilliant move by Dan Lanning. I didn't even know that rule existed. That's really, really smart from him. But the rule now is that if the player is making an attempt to get off, or if they look like they're trying to get off, it's not going to be they're not going to do the new rule, which is just setting the clock back to whatever it was. Like, there is no time runoff. I'm curious, Redden, what do you think? Do you think these teams will start to make it look more like they're trying to run off? Adding that in, it feels like they're leaving the door open.
Yeah, I think they're going to definitely err on the side of putting time back on. If somebody's like, it even looks like you're trying to mess with it, they're going to have to make an example of that right off the bat. So that way teams are like, okay, they're calling this and they're putting the time back on the clock. No point in us doing it. It being a 5-yard penalty to begin with is kind of interesting. I'd be interested in maybe making it 10 to 15 yards if it's the last 2 minutes of the game. I feel like that would be a better way to de-incentivize these teams from doing it. But overall, probably the smart rule change. You don't want to see something like that happen in the postseason. The fact that the NCAA changed it in 3 days is incredible because the NCAA is like the slowest organization in the world. They're maybe more inefficient than the United States government, but that's a topic for a whole other time. So I'm impressed with the NCAA.
Show.
Good for them for figuring something out quickly.
Yeah, they moved real quick, and that, I mean, it was really, really cool, honestly, to see him pull that out of the bag. But them leaving that door open, I don't like it. What do you think, Hunter?
I don't think we'll see guys faking it. I mean, we do see guys fake stuff all the time, like fake injuries so they can stop the clock or do whatever they need to if they have too many guys on the field and they need to, figure that whole situation out. I think, if it comes down to it, they're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to go here, I'm going to do this. No, they're just going to fake a cramp and fall down. I've seen it happen a million times in the Big Ten, and it just keeps on recurring.
That's crazy. Calling out one conference. I will say that was like the perfect storm for that to happen, right? Like they were 10 yards closer. He doesn't do that. They were 10 yards back. Like, he probably doesn't do that. I mean, he might to get the time off, but I don't know if it's really worth it. I think where they were at with the time left was like literally the perfect storm. And I think you're right. I mean, if that does come up in the playoffs, it's a much louder conversation. I personally would be on the side of the team that executed. Like they were able to find a little bit of a loophole, if you will, and use it to their advantage. But it's too bad. It's really too bad. And they moved quick on that. They really did. There was no chance it was going to happen this week. Do you have anything, Chase? I will let you get your word in if it is there.
Yeah, I think they realize it's a kind of a ridiculous rule anyway to let the time run off when that penalty was committed, because it kind of throws off that whole play. I mean, you have an extra man on the field. You can cover more ground, not as much chance of a big play. I think it's a good call to leave the time on the clock and then enforce the penalty and keep the same down.
I do. I agree. I think, and somebody was like, hey, what if we just put 15 people out there? And it's like, okay, well, that doesn't look like an accident. Yeah. Like I think that's pretty obvious. Hunter, I don't think we've done.
Out there.
Yeah. Put the whole band out there. Jesus.
That's what Stanford did.
Yeah, that's exactly. And did it really work? I don't know. That's a good question.
I think they ended up winning, didn't they? Who won that?
One of the teams did for sure. Yeah. Hunter, do you have a hero for the week?
My hero is someone who I can relate to a lot because I actually have a heart disease, and this guy underwent like crazy heart injuries, and he still bounced back, and he even got drafted to an NBA team, and I am using my hero to be Bronny James.
Saw where that was going. So you love what he's doing to the weather around the country?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I think there's not much that you can say about Bronny, and I feel like there's a lot more. I feel like nepotism doesn't factor into this conversation at all. I think he would have got picked up. He would have got picked up by the next team if the Lakers didn't. The Lakers got him at a steal, honestly.
Actually, I heard
a lot sooner.
I heard the Warriors wanted him, and they passed on him out of respect for LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think his plus minus is minus 60 in the games he's played so far. I think I saw that stat.
Hey, and if you're playing golf, that's a really good score. So
yeah, and it's all part of his plan. It's all part of his plan. I think we can all agree that Bronny James, just like Baylor, one of the best teams in college football before Iowa State beat him, Bronny James might be one of the best college basketball players to ever live, and will probably be the absolute best basketball player to ever live when he's done with his time in the NBA. That being said, I think that's all we've got for today's episode. Thank you guys for sticking around. If you want to support the show, liking, sharing, both very big. Subscribe on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram, and we do have a Twitter as well. Shout out to Bo Brack for coming on. Huge thank you to Bo Brack. Actually, we're not really sure why he chooses to come on here. Redden and I have gotten a little bit more professional, but the bottom half of the quad box, I could see why he would be like, staying away from that, especially the Iowa shirt in that corner there. So shout out to Bo.
No Iowa shirt.
Shout out to you, actually, for making this all possible. And with that being said, Red, will you do me the honors?
Deuces.